If you watched NASCAR this weekend at Watkins Glen, you already know what I am about to say. We just witnessed one of the most dominant road course performances anyone has seen in years. And honestly, the wildest part is, it almost did not even happen. Because in the middle of that race, Shane van Gisbergen was sitting 29 seconds behind the leader with only 17 laps to go. 29 seconds. That is the kind of gap that ends races. That is the kind of gap that sends drivers to 4th or 5th place, and you call it a solid day. But what SVG did next is something that nobody, and I mean nobody, in that garage saw coming. He did not just close the gap. He absolutely destroyed it. He drove past Ty Gibbs like he was standing still. And by the time the checkered flag waved, the New Zealander had beaten runner-up Michael McDowell by 7.288 seconds. And here is the thing. This is not just one story. Because while everyone is talking about SVG, there is a second storyline coming out of Watkins Glen that is way bigger than just one driver. The entire Trackhouse racing organization just made a statement that is going to shake up the championship picture for the rest of 2026. So today, we are breaking down both of these stories because what happened at the Glen this weekend tells us a lot about where this season is heading. And hey, real quick, if you are new here, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. We are pushing for 1,000 subscribers, and if you live and breathe NASCAR like I do every single week, you are in the right place. Welcome to Freedom Line News. All right, let's get into the first story, because Shane van Gisbergen at Watkins Glen was unreal. Let me set this up properly so you understand exactly how dominant this was. SVG won the pole on Saturday. His first pole of the season. His first pole at Watkins Glen. His 5th pole in 62 Cup Series races. Then on Sunday, he led the opening 18 laps before pitting. And from that point on, this race was basically a clinic. The number 97 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet led 74 of the 100 laps. 74. In a race that featured 6 lead changes among 4 different drivers, SVG was leading 3/4 of the time. That is not winning a race. That is conducting a road course masterclass. But here is where it gets crazy. Around lap 40, a tent from the infield got picked up by a burst of wind and landed right on the pavement, exiting the S's. I am not making that up. A literal tent. NASCAR had to throw a caution flag because of a flying tent. And that caution completely scrambled the strategy for the leaders. SVG had led every single lap of Stage 2 up until that point. He pitted. He restarted 7th. And when Stage 2 ended, he had not won it. Tyler Reddick took the stage win, and SVG had to start working his way back through the field on tires that already had heat in them. By the time the field shuffled through the next round of pit stops, Ty Gibbs found himself out front. And not just out front, like leading by a couple seconds. Gibbs had built up a 2.9-second gap, 29 seconds, with 17 laps to go. Now, as a NASCAR fan, you see that situation, and you think the race is over. Because at a road course, 29 seconds is an eternity. That is 2 or 3 pit stop cycles of lead. That is the kind of gap that lets the leader manage the tires, save fuel, and cruise home for the win. But SVG was not finished. And what happened over the next 17 laps was honestly one of the most jaw-dropping things you will see in NASCAR this entire year. Lap by lap, SVG started reeling Ty Gibbs in. First, it was a second a lap, then a second and a half, then 2 seconds. The gap kept closing. Gibbs was on the radio. The Joe Gibbs Racing camp realized what was happening. And here is the kicker. Ty Gibbs was in fuel-saving mode. He could not push the car the way he needed to in order to hold off SVG. After the race, Gibbs himself admitted it. He told reporters, quote, "Honestly, just a little frustrating. I wish we could keep racing, but unfortunately, just had to save some fuel there." That is brutal. Because Ty Gibbs had this race. He had the lead. He had the pace. And he had to watch it slip away because of a fuel situation that left him helpless against the best road course racer in modern NASCAR. SVG flew past him. The crowd at Watkins Glen lost their minds, and by the time the checkered flag waved, Shane van Gisbergen had not just won the Go Bowling at the Glen, he had absolutely buried the field by 7.288 seconds. From 29 seconds behind to 7 seconds ahead in 17 laps. That is a 3.6-second swing on a road course against the points leader's teammate. And as a fan, watching that happen live, you felt it. You felt this is the kind of performance that legends are made of. One NASCAR writer described it as, quote, like a world-class hunter stalking defenseless prey. That is exactly what it looked like. This is now SVG's 7th career Cup Series win, and all 7 have come on road or street courses. That is not a coincidence. That is mastery of a specific craft at a level we have not really seen since maybe Tony Stewart or Jeff Gordon at their peak. Even Chase Elliott, who has built his career on being a road course specialist, has not done what SVG just did at the Glen. Run down a 2.9 second deficit in 17 laps? That is not normal. That is otherworldly. And honestly, as a fan, you almost feel sorry for the rest of the field at road courses now, because anytime SVG shows up, the race is basically for second place. Sonoma is coming. The Charlotte Roval is coming. The Chicago Street Race is coming. And if SVG is racing this well, every single road course on the schedule is basically already decided. But here is where the story gets bigger. Because what SVG did at Watkins Glen is not just about him. That brings us straight into the second story. Because there is something happening at Trackhouse Racing right now that nobody is really talking about. Look at what Trackhouse did this weekend. Ross Chastain won Stage 1. Shane van Gisbergen won the race. 2 of the 3 Trackhouse cars at Watkins Glen ended up at the front of the field, and the third was right there in the mix all day. That is not luck. That is an organization clicking on every single level. Now look back at where Trackhouse came from. This team did not exist 5 years ago in the form we know today. Justin Marks bought Chip Ganassi Racing's NASCAR operation back in 2021. They were starting from scratch. And in just a few short years, they have turned into one of the most dangerous organizations in the entire Cup Series. Ross Chastain has been a Cup Series winner. Daniel Suarez has been a Cup Series winner. Shane van Gisbergen has now won 7 races for them. They added Connor Zeilish to their development program, and he has been crushing it in the lower series. They have built a road course program that is genuinely the best in NASCAR right now. And here is the part that really matters. Trackhouse is doing all of this without the resources of Hendrick Motorsports or Joe Gibbs Racing or Team Penske. They are not the biggest organization in the sport. They are not the most established. They are just executing better than almost everyone else every single weekend. Compare that to what happened at Watkins Glen for some of the bigger teams. Hendrick Motorsports had a disaster. Kyle Larson finished 23rd. Chase Elliott, the guy who won at Texas just last weekend, finished 24th. Alex Bowman, 25th. William Byron, 36th, after getting damage early in the race. That is 4 cars from one of the biggest organizations in NASCAR, and none of them finished higher than 23rd. Joe Gibbs Racing had a better day, but they still got beat. Christopher Bell got tangled up. Denny Hamlin finished outside the top 10. Ty Gibbs had the race in his hands and let it slip away. Even with all that horsepower and history, JGR could not match what Trackhouse just did. And honestly, that is the bigger story coming out of Watkins Glen. Because we are watching a smaller organization out-execute the giants of NASCAR week after week. SVG is the headline. But Trackhouse Racing as a whole is becoming a real threat. And if they keep this up, the silly season conversations about drivers wanting to join Trackhouse are going to get a lot more interesting. So, what does all this mean for the rest of the 2026 season? Honestly, my take as a fan watching all of this is simple. We just watched the road course master remind the entire NASCAR garage why he is in the Cup Series in the first place. And we just watched an organization that nobody took seriously a few years ago show that they belong in the same conversation as the biggest teams in the sport. Shane van Gisbergen is not going to win every race. He is not even in playoff contention because he is so far back in the points after limited starts. He sits 19th in the standings, 311 points back. But here is the thing. At every road course remaining on the schedule, he is now the favorite. Every single one. And in the modern NASCAR playoff format, if SVG can win one of those road course playoff races, he can completely disrupt somebody else's championship hopes. And for Trackhouse, this is the moment. Justin Marks built this organization from the ground up. He bet on SVG when other teams were not sure if a road course specialist could thrive in NASCAR. And that bet just paid off in front of the entire racing world at Watkins Glen. For Ty Gibbs, this loss is going to hurt. Because he had this race. The kid is 23 years old. He has speed. He has talent. He won at Bristol earlier this season. But losing a 2-9 second lead in 17 laps because of fuel mileage, that is going to stick with him. Joe Gibbs Racing is going to spend the next week breaking down what went wrong with that strategy call. To wrap it all up, we had Shane van Gisbergen putting on a road course clinic that we are going to be talking about for the rest of the season. And at the same time, we had Trackhouse Racing showing the entire NASCAR world that they are no longer just a small underdog operation. They are a real organization with a real championship infrastructure. And they are outperforming teams that have been around for decades. And now we head to the Dover All-Star race next weekend with momentum shifting all over the place. The points leader Tyler Reddick still leads by 109 points. Denny Hamlin is second. Chase Elliott is third after his Texas win, but he just had a brutal weekend, and Trackhouse Racing is on the rise. This season is honestly starting to feel unpredictable, and that is exactly why we watch. If you are a NASCAR fan, this is the kind of moment you wait for. Because right now, the championship picture is not just about one driver dominating. It is about multiple organizations rising and falling week to week. SVG just made his statement. Trackhouse just made theirs. And the rest of the field has been put on notice. Now I want to hear from you. Was SVG's comeback at Watkins Glen the most impressive road course drive of the modern era? Should NASCAR be worried that Trackhouse Racing is starting to dominate the road course schedule? And do you think Ty Gibbs will recover from this brutal loss? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I really want to know what you think. And if you are a NASCAR fan who enjoys real conversations and honest opinions about the sport, subscribe to Freedom Line News. The channel is brand new, and we are pushing toward our first 1,000 subscribers together as NASCAR fans. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and check out the video on screen right now where we break down Bubba Wallace's heated pit road confrontation with Christopher Bell after this same race. Trust me, you do not want to miss what really went down between those two. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.